I think value innovation, as we know, the blue ocean strategy concept, is in fact synonymous to pay for outcome. Because the customer is looking for higher value from what he spends. So you push the cost bar down and you push the worth of the product to the customer high. And therefore he experiences a higher value for lesser rupees. And that's pay for outcome.
That's every project, right? For you, pay for outcome is every project for you?
At a consumer level, I mean, as he was saying, that medicine, of course, is a little more specialized, and there is a very discerning audience which can make out what the outcome is.
All our projects, of course, some of it you learned from Accenture. We have value engineering as part of the project mechanism. The project goes, let's say, for 2 years. The first 6-7 months is around engineering, and that's the time you can do the maximum value engineering in terms of not only on engineering but on constructability and on the type of layouts and design and so on. And then what the secret is that you got to do it periodically over the whole project, because the project moves through distinct phases, or even if we do a lot of defense work, what you conceive at the very fundamental stage of the start of the project or the start of a development of a missile system or a new type of high-end technology, if you don't keep doing this value engineering as you go along, you will not either reach the fastest path, because the value engineering has got two elements. One is the cost, but one is also the shortest time to complete.
Efficiency and time.
And many times in our type of product development, where you have longer cycle times and they are customized, the time is money. So if you can reduce it by 3 months, you save more than what you would have saved by just tinkering with the procurement cost.
Now we'll come to the 2014 projections and how things are looking. It's been a very, very tough time. Mr. Godrej, the last slowdown that India saw, we became the most cost efficient. I think a lot of Indian companies came out trumps because they managed to tighten their belts really well. And a lot of the global expansion, as Dr. Sharma was saying, was the cost advantage that we had. What are the lessons this time around? Because in this time around, I think the frustration has been palpable because you've seen that you can fly, but you've been curtailed. Are innovation and new markets going to be?
Yeah, I think innovation is very important, but I think also productivity improvement is very important. And I think in the last couple of years, many Indian companies have particularly stressed productivity improvements, which will stand us in very good stead. But if you ask me what's going to happen in 2014, I think a lot will depend on the election. If we get a government that is economy friendly, if we get a government that is willing to improve ease of doing business in India, I think that phrase would summarize all the difficulties we are going through. If we can improve the ease of doing business in India, India has the capability of flourishing. We need a framework, and government shouldn't be controlling things, government shouldn't be directing things, government should be facilitating things.
In the interim, while we wait for this, Dr. Sharma, I mean, of course, pharmaceuticals is a classic example of a lot of the growth being driven outside India rather than inside India. Do you see that gaining far more momentum than what's happening over here in terms of percentage of growth?
Yeah, I mean, it just so happens that of the 1.1 trillion pharma market in the world, or 1.2 trillion, the India market is only 2%. Okay, so 98% exists outside India. And therefore, any company which is wanting to become bigger and global and impact a larger canvas of population, I think it has to be going overseas. But having said that, I think India has a tremendous scope for growth, because even today, I think 50-60% of our population does not get the kind of medicines and the kind of care that they deserve and they should have. And as an economist, I'd say that health is to some extent like a public good. It should be available to people and not merely always measured by the supply and demand. The unfortunate part there is that there has to be a lot done in terms of infrastructure, in terms of hospitals, in terms of creating the basic infrastructure to reach the healthcare to the people. So the scope of growth is tremendous in India. although we are the lowest price market in the world, and that is for sure, even Pakistan has 3.5 times our prices. But in terms of touching larger population, I think we'll have to be going out.
Mr. Venkatraman, a lot of your revenue has started coming from overseas, and I think that's a big push within Larsen & Toubro. How much of the revenue the top line increase will happen from there, you think, if you were to look ahead? Because as you were discussing, you have a certain time frame before the slowdown will catch up with you domestically.
Let's look at the positive side of India first. Like I said, for the last 2-3 years, India gave an opportunity to build the best airports, international sense airports, metros, some very large power plants, and so on. So a lot of big oil and gas platforms, refineries. Then it slowed down. Now, a company like ours, even 10 years ago, felt that if we want to really leverage the true potential that we have now, we need to be global, at least in the region where we can go and work. And in other areas we can export products, we can be global everywhere. And second, so this slowdown in a way has accelerated the thinking part of speed of implementation. Because had the Indian market been very strong, of course we would have gone global, but it would have had a particular, delivery speed. Now that unfortunately, things are slow, and as Mr. Godrej mentioned, it's going to be slow for the next year or so. The impetus of everybody, even the people within who may not have been so
gung-ho about going global.
The gung-ho going global, all have now got into that momentum. And once you get into that momentum, then of course it's tough when you face Japanese, you face Koreans, and you face all the competition. So initial part will be a little tough, but you got all the other advantages. Your proximity to those markets, a lot of the best people who work there, even with those foreign companies, know us, know Indians, they're all your ex-colleagues. And secondly, they respect good, innovative quality. So I would say the chance of building a second L&T international, if you look at, that's what we want to do. We want to replicate India in the region as L&T. So we want to really build the same infrastructure, the same type of support. Now we couldn't have done it had we gone half-heartedly. We were not going half-heartedly, but it would have taken a little more time.
So now that process has gotten accelerated.
Right.
So how much revenue will come from there? Now about
See,
15 to 20%?
today as a company, our international part will be about 20-25%. But in segments, it may be 70%.
Sure.
But going forward, our target is to take it to about 35-40%, because we still believe India will grow, and we can't but be a national builder also.
Okay. Avinash, what are the big challenges, the 2-3 big challenges and opportunities for Indian companies this year? Because, half of this year would be waiting for the next government to come in, and then the next half hoping for the recovery. So what do you think are the key challenges?
The way I think we look at it is rather than being challenged, I think we are challenging ourselves itself to be able to be more useful to our clients. If you look at it, the clients are focusing on outcomes and not outputs. And they want that at the fraction of a cost than before. And that's a big challenge.